was born in Leith and eventually in 1948 moved to Oxgangs.
I was born and brought up in Glasgow, and I came to Edinburgh at the age of 21.
I moved to Fairmile Head in 1960 when I was 11, and we were very interested and did lots of bird watching in the area.
This is Clemerson Woods on Christophin Hill, and when I was a youngster, from a very young age, up to the early 20s, I lived very close to this.
My childhood was in the 1950s when our family rented a house on Gracemount Farm. We as children ran wild in the fields. The fields were full of buttercups and ox-high daisies, and also with poppies, which were lovely. There were minnows and sticklebacks in the burn, and it was just a lovely place.
My earliest memories of nature there were water voles, water rats, mallard ducks, blackbirds, and even thrushes, of which there are not as many thrushes at all now.
My husband's family came over from India in 1955, and Pilrig Park seemed to remind people like my husband's mum and his grandmother and all the ladies that came to Edinburgh around about that time of home, because they had a special tree in Pilrig Park and they sat underneath that tree with their kids playing about, and that went on for years and years and years, because even when I got married and came here, they were still doing that as a regular thing.
When I was very young, there used to be a park keeper, and for some reason, if a bunch of kids were playing, we saw the park keeper, we'd run away. I've no idea why. It's as if we felt we shouldn't be having fun in nature. As a child, this was my playground, and in some ways the woods have changed a lot, in some ways just the same as they were. I remember Christophin Hill being quieter when I was a child, with children playing, and it was local people taking the dogs for walks, and now you get many more people drive here. This is something you go to rather than it just being there on your doorstep.
In winter, we used to walk along at South Queensferry, and in those days you would often see seals hauled out on the pier there, and that's not something I see now because the seals don't usually come that far up the River Forth. Looking
overall from around the houses at Oxgangs and other parts of the city, the losses that really have stuck out have been hares and high up in the Pentlands, snow buntings. And in the towns now, virtually no starlings and certainly no house sparrows are as obvious as they used to be.
We lived just round the corner from Gayfield Square Park, and that was a lovely green space. There was trees and there was flower beds. And over the years we saw the flower beds kind of disappear. And I think the flower beds disappeared with the disappearance of park keepers. And but you know, each time you come down you saw something more kind of disappear, and a couple of the big trees were cut down, and then the flower beds just disappeared completely.
I want to mention in particular all the farmland birds lost in the last 60 years. Grey partridge, we reckon there are about 9 pairs each year, all gone. Lapwings, over 30 pairs. Curlews, up to 10 pairs, all gone. Yellowhammers were common, are still reasonably common, greatly reduced. So a catalogue of loss. Since the 1960s, there has been a major change in woodland and garden birds, and many of these are quite positive. Sparrowhawks had declined massively due to toxins, and they're now common. Buzzards hadn't reached the urban areas of Edinburgh where they now are.
In those days, a lot of effluent went into the water of Leith. So in fact, it was not then a healthy river. Back then, there were no kingfishers or otters, so things actually have improved compared to the 1960s.